Welcome back to another episode of the DAT Fitness Business Podcast. Tom Blackman with Dan Smith today, no aliases. And today we're talking about finding a work-life balance as an online fitness coach, which is an important topic, is it not, Dan?
Yeah, extremely important. It's one of those topics that comes up, isn't it? Like time and time again.
Yeah, and because I think we were just saying before we started recording in our preamble that a lot of coaches are like, oh, I could do another 20 clients. It'd be great to get another 20 clients. And then as soon as they got 20 clients, like, oh shit, how am I going to organize all this into my life? And I can't deliver to those 20 clients. So it is an important thing to think about how you're going to fit all that work and all that money with your social and family life.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's something that's really relevant to both of us because obviously, Dan, you've got little Dan on the way, which is or Danielle on the way. If you don't know yet.
No, it's little Dan. He's a boy.
Dan, is it?
Yeah.
Little Dan on the way. Excellent. And obviously, I've had children and gone through, and I've had children through my time as a coach and business owner. So you're about to experience the change in life from the wonderful thing that children bring, and I could tell you all the things it does as well.
Yeah, people keep telling me how amazing it is, but I'm yet to make my mind up.
Yeah, be your own judge on that one. This is a massive topic. There's so many things, and we're not going to cover everything in one podcast of 45 minutes. So what we decided we were going to do is talk about the things that Dan and I both employ in our businesses, how we maximize our working in with our personal life, and some of the principles we use. And some will be similar, some will be different. This is not a right or wrong answer type situation. It's this is what we do. This is how we do our stuff. So don't take any of this as this is what you must do, but take something from which is like, yeah, I can incorporate that into my business. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely. So listen to them, see, and then you can always try them out, test them, and because ultimately, like we said, it's such a big subject and it's very individual to everyone because everyone's got different capacities for work. So, I might be able to work longer than some people or whatever, or at certain time periods in your life, you may be able to work longer, and then as stuff changes and priorities shift, you don't work longer, or you have to prioritize something else, like a child, for example. So it's important that it's not just this thing that all of a sudden, like, yep, I've got work-life balance, I've completed it. I don't think you ever complete work-life balance. It should just be a cycle that it revolves around, and you just adjust as needed throughout your period.
Yeah, it's very fluid, isn't it? It's not like, well, it's like we coach fitness people. It's like a diet. It's like training. You adapt it to your situation as you improve, or as you don't improve. You have to change things.
Yeah.
And,
when people go, oh yeah, you just got to find balance. Just to find some balance. You're like, what the fuck? What is balance?
Find your chakra. Wow.
Explain what that is to me, because it's going to be completely different for everyone. It's one of those annoying things that people say. Oh yeah, you just got to balance, mate. Yeah. Like
it's a throwaway metaphor, isn't it? It's like the fitness influencer, like it's the Google quote where they're posing with their bum out, isn't it? It's like, find balance in your life. It doesn't mean anything.
Deliver value, find balance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's So I suppose one of the way I've seen this over my years is that when I first opened the gym, I was 30 years old, still had black hair, still had hair. And over the 12 years, because at that time I was opening the gym, I didn't have Jacob, obviously, and I had a lot of time to do stuff. So I would work a lot of hours. And over the years, as I've got older and as the gym's progressed and as my coaching business has taken off, I've had to really structure things differently. And something I see, you see this sort of, fitness people talk about all the time. They go like, oh, the person who says they haven't got time to do something, and then they work out how many hours in the day that person's got. And it's like, yeah, you've got 1 hour to go training. But if you're like a mum at home, who has got the kids all the time, they sometimes haven't got an hour to go training. It's just, it's something that is sort of thrown away, like, oh, you have time to do that.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Dan, are the things that you've found to sort of maximize the time? So let's say we've got an hour to do something, or half an hour to do something. What are the things you've employed to make sure we maximize the time that we have got?
From a practical point of view, we're looking at actual things that you can do. There are some tools. I mean, we use quite a few different softwares and like apps and things, just from a practical point of view. But I do think even before you get to that point, you have to think about what's causing it to get to there. Like what's got to that place in the first, how it's got to that place in the first instance, is because usually, again, I'll come back to the tangible things, but I just wanted to make a point of, by the time it gets to that point where you're like, I need to sort out my work-life balance, it's probably too late. Yes. So it's almost like you're almost fighting a losing battle. And that's like what you said at the beginning, when someone goes, oh, all of a sudden they're bringing on more and more people into their business. But what they're not doing at the same time is then using some of these tools or using some of these practices to then free up some tasks which potentially they don't need to be doing, or can then allow them to do those more of that job, the initial job, which is like the coaching, say. And they don't do that. So what they do is they get busier and busier and busier. And it's to a point where they're like, shit, I need to do something about this now. But they can't because they're too busy. So you've almost like left it too late. And it's very hard to then come back from that. It's really difficult. It can be done, but it's a lot harder than just doing it as you go through. So practical things like, we use some, like we talked about, so like Pomodoro techniques for actually getting work done, because this is like it's great. It's also your worst nightmare when you're trying to do stuff. For the benefit
of the audio podcast, Dan's holding up his phone.
Oh, sorry. I forget that. But it is. And the Pomodoro, I've created a little training. It's free, by the way. If anyone wants it, I'll link it in this video. But it helps the coaches who we work with just to get work done. And it will, when I remember first putting this out there and people were messaging me saying, this has just saved me like hours. It's saving me hours, because I know this happens, right? You'll do something, you'll do a task and you're like, right, get a little bit of time now. That's my reward. I'm going to go on social media and scroll. Every single time you'll do it. And I know that because I was guilty of it. I still am a little bit, but I'll try and make sure I've got these things in place. But yeah, that's one of the things to save time. But then, like I was saying earlier, we're in different places now in terms of the business. So when you start, it is just you, isn't it? You're doing everything, you're trying to run the business. But as you grow, it pays to then start to look at, okay, what things can I delegate a little bit here? What things do I repeat on a daily, weekly basis that potentially I don't need to be doing? And I think that's a smart move to do early on. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a little grid, isn't it? There's a little model that's you've got. I think everybody's seen this, but if you haven't, I'll explain. You've got on the one axis, you've got things that are important, and then you've got things that are not important on the other side, and then you've got what's the other one? Urgent, isn't it?
Non-urgent, isn't it?
Yeah. So you've got urgent and then non-urgent. So anything that's urgent and really important, that's what you do, and then anything that's non-urgent and important, you can potentially delegate out, and then the other things you can forget about them or whatever else. So it's worth doing that. And I did this a little while ago when I was trying to manage the gym and the coaching business. And I just thought, well, I haven't got, and obviously got Jacob. So I was like, well, that's not a lot of hours in the day to do all that. So I looked at the gym, and I mean, I was doing the accounts on a spreadsheet, because I'm old school. That's what I was doing. And I was like, why am I doing that? Why can't an accountant do that? So I delegated all that off to my accountant, and we took on Xero, which is like a accountancy software. It cost me, I think Xero cost me something like 30 quid a month. Although my accountant charges me a flat rate because she does my VAT, does my payroll, does all that sort of stuff. Payroll was another thing I outsourced to them. And they sent me an app called Dex, and Dex is like, you got Dex. Yeah. So you just basically scan, if you've got a bill, you scan it, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. It toddles off, links in with Xero, and it's like saved me like hours. I used to sit in Chiquitos, have my breakfast on like Thursdays, and just go through this massive wad of receipts that I had, like entering them all on Xero. It took me ages. Now I just scan it. It takes 2 seconds on the app. So all those things I incorporated to make it easier. And it cost me 30 quid a month. to have this zero integration with my accountant, but it saved me like 4 hours a week, which was just like mega time, and my managers at the gym, I gave them more responsibility. They now do all the things like the holidays, the staff. I don't actually do anything in terms of like the day-to-day running of the gym. That's done by my management team. I focus on like the long term, the marketing, the strategy, that sort of thing. But what you were saying about, when you're doing it all yourself, it's really difficult as a business owner to come back from that and trust someone else to do it. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. And what you did there is, whether you probably did this on purpose, but like you've actually got to that point where you've paused and you've gone, right, there's something not quite right here. Need to sort this out. And then you're looking at what's causing that stress. There's some kind of unbalance there that we need to get sorted out. And then you've taken steps to then sort that out, because that's ultimately affecting your personal life. It's affecting how you are with your job, how you perform. And so, but that by very nature of like having a pause and then going, right, I need to look at what's going on here and then taking action on it. Yes, it's costing you 30 quid a month or whatever the accountant costs, but what you get back from that is invaluable. So, yeah.
Well, my accountant fees for ministry is something like nearly £300 a month. But I'm telling you now, mate, they have saved me thousands and thousands of pounds over the course of the years. So that, I mean, obviously, ministry's a big limited company, so it needs that level. But the same accountants manage my accounts for BKM, and that's like 90 quid a month because most of it's online and stuff like that. So 90 quid a month for me is a very, to take all that hassle away of doing all my accounts and invoicing and all. That's just like, wow, yeah, just take my money and do it. I don't want to do the stuff I hate doing. And that's something I've actually taken after lockdown, because of the obviously stress and everything. I was trying to reduce my stress. I looked at all the stuff I hated doing. But right, someone else is going to do that, because it stresses me out, and I don't need to be more stressed out, especially with stuff with lockdown happening. And that's continued now after we've opened and been back to normal business.
Yeah, it's massively important to do that. I see it a lot, and you would have gone through this, but you'll look at stuff now, things will come up along your business coaching journey, and you'll have to pay for more things. And I've always, at the start, it can feel like there's lots of stuff like adding up. Well, I'm paying for this, I'm paying for that. Like, okay, I'm not saying you need to go out there and pay for every single thing right as soon as you start doing this, but there are certain things that are worth like their weight in terms of what that payment will then allow you to do is huge. And like accountants is definitely one of them. Certain things that make your life easier from a software point of view, that could be a whole number of things, but there's certain things there that we've definitely invested in, booking systems for when you have teams of coaches and things that make your life so much easier for the amount of money you pay. And it's just a no-brainer, that kind of stuff. So there are little things like that. And I've definitely was in that position at the start where you're like, oh shit, but I'm paying for this now, I'm paying for that. And it starts to then add up. But if you're growing at the same rate and you're starting to build the business, that's the only reason then you'd have to then start using these things. So otherwise you don't need to keep bringing in like all this new stuff. And I think about what I expend now on a monthly basis for stuff like that, but also people and things, people who work with us and for us. I think that I couldn't even imagine that being back in the start. If you told me that, I would have gone, nah, I would have been like, what? Paying how much per month? Like, it just wouldn't have been a thing. But now those things and those people, they give so much to what we do. It's just like, it makes sense, but it's only because of where it is at this point in time. And then we talked about that cycle of work-life balance. It's just because it's gone through that cycle of now it's in this place. It cycled back a few times and it was different. It was just me, and then it grew again, then it cycles through and it cycles through to this. So, and who knows where it'll be in the next 3 years. So,
yeah, I think that's an important point about not taking on more stuff, as in more shiny things than you need. Because I've been in the same situation where I've had like, oh, I need that shiny thing and that shiny thing, and that, because all the other coaches have that. And one of the things I did during lockdown, which was forced, was I looked at all my expenditure and I said, well, that thing there, does that actually save me time? or is that more hassle, or is it no time saved? You know, and anything that didn't give me an actual benefit, as in this, I could see it, look at it and go, well, that saved me this much time, so now I can focus on the potentially in terms of client hours, it's this much money. Anything that didn't do that, even though it was like nice and shiny and everything else, I was like, just get rid of that. Like Kajabi, I used to have that for my like education courses. Got rid of it because I can manage all the modules from a Facebook group very easily, and I've got all the links for the videos. So I don't need Kajabi to host all that. And Kajabi's like, well, whatever. I don't know what it is now. It was like 1,500 quid for the year or something. It's a lot of dough.
Yeah, Kajabi's quite expensive, isn't it? There's a few different variations now. It does does what it does. But there's some. I don't know what your thoughts on this, but I'm a big fan of this in other areas. So we have a cleaner that comes to the house every 2 weeks, and I'm hands down, that's one of the things that I insisted that happen, not just because, we've got a cleaner, because that was taking away time that I was able to spend with my wife. Because what would happen is it would get to the weekend and she doesn't end up doing all the, like, she doesn't do all the cleaning. We do all the cleaning. Like, so,
and all the ironing and the washing up, of course.
Yeah, that sounded terrible. But no, we just spent the whole weekend doing like the stuff. And I was like, this isn't great, because it was taking up time, but also you'd get into those kind of conversations around like, well, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I was like, well, I don't want to be doing this at the weekend, or I want to be going and doing something else. So like, let's take this out of our control, and then we can then get that time back. So that was something else for me. But
I absolutely agree with that one, mate. And yeah, I mean, people say, oh, you have a cleaner, you know, what, are you a toff or something? Like, no, but I mean, I don't know what you're like, but I hate cleaning. I mean, I have a cleaning team at the gym that comes in, and, you know, because when we first opened at the gym, I couldn't afford any staff. It's just me and, you know, one or two other people. And I would have to clean the toilets and the changing rooms every day, you know, because my philosophy at the beginning was, I will not ask someone to do something which I wouldn't do myself. So for the first 6 months, I cleaned the toilets and changing room every single day, and I hated it. And so as soon as I could afford a cleaner, I was like, right, we're getting a cleaner in. And now they're cleaned every single day, like top to bottom. They look absolutely sparkling. Much better than what I could do. But it saves a load of time. And in our house, we don't actually have a cleaner now, because Sam, she likes a bit of cleaning. So she hoovers every day and all that sort of stuff. But I have said to her, I said, look, you know, I'm fine with getting a cleaner in. And just to be clear here, the division of labor is I do all the cooking and she does the cleaning, because I like cooking and she likes the cleaning.
Yeah.
So we don't swap those roles at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've got no objection at all to getting a cleaner to come in like twice a week or whatever, because like you said, what do you want to spend your weekend cleaning the house? No one wants to do that. You know, I used to take my washing to a laundrette to do, even though I had a washing machine, because I couldn't be bothered to wash all my clothes, put them in the tumble dryer, get them out, iron them and everything else. So when I lived somewhere else then, the laundrette was literally on my way to the gym. So I could drive past it, just dump an IKEA bag, load of stuff in and go, right, there you are, here's 20 quid. And then I'd come back and pick it up the next day. All ironed, all like, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do anything.
But they're prime examples, aren't they, where what you're paying out for whatever service it is allowing you to then go and do whatever you want to do, whether that's, you know, for the business or whether it's just something for yourself. But ultimately you're taking away that you don't want to get involved with that task or whatever it is. So I always know when it is now, because I'll get real resentment to whatever I'm doing. If I'm like, I find myself doing something, I'm like, I got this, you can feel it in me, like it's resentment, because I know I could be doing something else. And then I'm getting really in tune with when that is up. And I'll be like, I don't want to do this anymore. How can we fix this?
Yeah, there's that thing about eating a frog first thing in the morning, doing the thing you hate doing first thing in the morning. I've got a much better philosophy for that, is that someone else can eat the frog and I'll pay them to eat it, and I'll get on with stuff I like doing. And I do get what they're saying there in terms of get the job you hate doing the most done first, because then it's out of the way. I get that. But if it's a job that you hate and you're doing it repeatedly, why are you doing that? It's just like you said, it's building resentment. Oh, I can't do that bloody thing. And it sets you up for the whole day. Like, oh, I started my day doing something I hate. Great. You know?
Yeah. Anything like that. Oh, painting. No, I'm never doing that.
Yeah. I hate painting. You know, I'm putting up a shelf. I'm not a DIY person. No. My partner at the gym, Curtis, he does all the building at the gym. He loves doing that stuff. If anything I need doing at the house, I say, come around and I'll pay you. And he just does all the stuff because I can't. I'm no good at putting the shelf up, mate.
Time, and also I know that it'll be done properly, and it will just take me twice as long. I only flooded the kitchen once because I tried to change the tap on the sink. And I remember texting my mate who's a plumber, and he said, "Mate, just do me a favor and just message me next time." And I was like, it was the nightmare. I'm going out trying to turn it off on the mains in the road and things. Like, fucking hell, idiot.
Yeah. And I think there is that thing amongst especially small business owners, but also I suppose online coaches, is that people are always looking to save money, aren't they? But saving money sometimes means that you do spend a bit of money.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're saving money on not repairing the entire house from flood damage.
Yeah. Investing, isn't it? It's an investment in my time and also me getting the job done properly. Like, I'll invest in a coach to do my training, and I'll work with them because I value what that is, and that means a lot to me, and I know the value of coaching, so I'm like, I'll invest in that. That helps me, plus I get the value of it, and I don't see it as a cost. It's like, no, it's an investment to me. Like, I invest in the business, and we have various people involved in the business that I pay money to, and they help me out because that's an investment. It's like this mentality of it being, if it's a cost, then you're looking at it probably the wrong way, or it's not giving you what you need.
Yeah, so it's coming back to what we were saying before, is that does this thing actually give us a benefit in terms of either more money or more time?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't do either one of those, okay, there's three actually: more money, more time, reduced pain, isn't it? That's the things. That's what people spend money on. So, for us, getting a cleaner in is reducing pain and reducing time, isn't it?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Yeah, if you're going to look at ways to sort of improve or optimize your work or your workflow, if you're going to pay money on something, does this save you time? Does it save you money, or make more money, I should say? And does it reduce pain or give you pleasure? But that's maybe the wrong way of saying it. Those three things, those three measurements, I think if it's not one of those things is ticked, then it's not worth spending the money on. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the other big things around this is, and was it last week or week before I made something on this, but just around creating and setting boundaries and then implementing them, because this then comes back to like work-life balance, whatever that is only going to be impacted by the boundaries you set around it. So if they're not set and maintained, then you only have it's your own fault as well. You need to set those boundaries, be able to communicate them, so tell people what they are, because otherwise people won't know. And then you need to keep revisiting them and to check that they're still in check with. And as soon as they get encroached, each time you break that or you let someone step in on your boundaries, it just gets easier and easier for that to happen until you get to that point where you've got no boundaries.
So, well, in terms of like fitness coaching, it's as soon as you cheat on your diet, for want of a better word, it makes it easier the next time, doesn't it? Oh, it's all right, I'll do the cardio tomorrow, that sort of thing. So yeah, so I suppose I don't know if you do this, but I have when I set my diary, so I've got my diary on Google Calendar, and before I do anything, my non-negotiables go in there. But my non-negotiables are like my training. It's not like number one, but my non-negotiables are training, my time with Jacob and Sam, and my eating. And people might go, well, why is eating in there as non-negotiable? Well, because if I don't put that in, then I just keep working, because I'm not so much a workaholic, but once I get in a flow, I'm like, right, let's go. Yeah. And, everyone will have this thing where they're finishing like a bit of content or whatever. And it's like, oh, I should eat now. Oh, I'll eat in a minute. And then they finish the content and it's a client call. And then that's an hour and then another hour. And it's like, I haven't eaten anything at all today.
Yeah.
So putting eating in was one of my big things that actually kept me, I suppose, awake for the whole day and not like snacking on loads of crap at the end of the day.
Yeah, I resonate with that massively. I'm going from someone who would always eat like all the time to then not even thinking about it was crazy for me. It's like, what is wrong? And then when people notice it as well, like Ashley was like, you haven't eaten much today. I'm like, yeah, because I just haven't thought about it. And to the point where I bought a fridge, a mini fridge to have in here, so that I thought that would solve the problem, that I could just put stuff in it and it would be here and I wouldn't have to leave this room. But yeah, the fridge never made it up here. It's downstairs. But yeah, I can relate to that massively. The that side of things, the eating. But yeah, the boundaries, definitely setting those is important.
The other thing I've got on my calendar is that so I'll do those 3 first, they're non-negotiable. So that's obviously time, nothing else can get booked on those times. And although it's important to say here that can be flexible, because sometimes, like during holidays and stuff, my time with Jacob is changed because I share custody with him, and also my training can sometimes change. So it can move, but they never get deleted unless I'm like ill or whatever for training, like today. But the other thing is that once you've done that, people then go, oh, well, that's fine. I've done that, but I can put client calls on all the other times. Nah, right. Because now you've just filled your whole day with client calls. So before that goes in, you need to put in time to work on your business. And those times need to be the times that you're freshest. Because if your business is not growing, you're not working on that, how are you going to give a good service to your clients? And how are you going to get more clients? And how are you going to grow your business? You're not, are you, if you're always talking to clients?
Right. One of the coaches I work with, we went through this with him. He's got his own gym, and then he wanted to then start stepping away from that. So stop being so present in the gym, but then he had an online presence as well, but we wanted to build that up. But then we looked at his week and went through all the days in the week, and we pinpointed, like, okay, when can we get this time back? We took 2 days, like Tuesday, Thursday. We said, these are days we'll keep free, because you don't have as much on. We can move these sessions to here, or the things you need to do, keep them free. And then that stayed for a few weeks, but then all of a sudden we had a call and a catch up, and he was just saying, I've been at the gym all day today. And I was like, it's Tuesday today. He's like, yeah. But like, I had to go in and do this. And then he was feeling really, guilty about it, and also like annoyed with himself. And I was like, that's because you've set this boundary, right? And then you've broken it. It's not the end of the world, right? We just need to recognize it, and we can put things in place. But that's what you said. So don't be filling that time then back with other stuff just because you can see an empty space in it. That time is for you to then work on those other things, which is going to drive you forwards, isn't it? Yeah.
It's and I suppose the other thing is, this is what that guy is going to be experiencing, which is maybe unique to gym owners and online coaches like me, like your client, is that when you've got to manage 2 businesses, you've really got to be clear about what day you're doing what business. Yeah. So for me, I have certain days where, right, that day and at that time I'm working on the business, it's only ministry. And another day, I'm only going to be working on, the build coaching. Because otherwise, what happens is, especially when you've got, a couple of businesses that you manage, there's all priorities in all these different businesses. And all of a sudden you're looking at a to-do list or 2 to-do lists like that and go, wow, that's a lot of stuff. What do I start first? And then because it's so much stuff, you get overwhelmed and anxiety. And then by like 12 o'clock, you haven't done anything because you're just thinking about what to start. And it's like, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to post a meme on Instagram.
I'm just going to scroll through.
Yeah, because the path of least resistance is not to do anything. Or what you do is go off and do something like, oh, I'll update the staff rota or something like that. It's like, that doesn't need, that's not even important. Just, delegate that off to someone.
Do the stuff that is just that. This is probably a bit of a tangent, but I do find that sometimes coaches will do them tasks that are like, they make you feel like you've done something and you feel safe by doing this task. And it could be like that, like updating the gym or creating a new resource, or like, I've redone the banner for the Facebook group or whatever it is. Like, these tasks are just, I get it, but they're not moving anything forward.
Yeah. And those things would be all things I would delegate off to my graphic designer. And I suppose, did you have a graphic designer? Do you do your stuff?
Yeah.
Are they UK based?
Yeah. Fit Creative. Yeah.
So I have I have a small team who do my stuff in the Philippines, and they deliver some great. All my graphic stuff that you see is done. I'd say 99% is done by them, and the video editing and all that sort of stuff. Although once you get over the time difference, it's actually, it's really cost effective, and they are excellent at what they do. And anything like that, I have a Trello board, and I go, right, here's a task that needs doing, and I add myself and the people who need to be doing on it, and go, right, just get this needs to be done by, say, Tuesday or something. And I mean, I don't know do you use Trello or something like that? I use Slack, don't you?
Yeah, we got Trello and Slack. Yeah.
Trello is brilliant if you've got a couple of people you're working with, because you can add them as members, say, well, here's a task that needs to be done, and then you can obviously add the comments, so you get notifications when stuff's done. And I use it in ministry as well. So me and my management team have a Trello board, and then because I'm not on site a lot, so if they need something done, they WhatsApp me a lot. I'm like, yeah, that's fine to WhatsApp me, but put it on the Trello board, because then it goes into my to-do list to do.
Yeah.
And all those little things. It's easy, and it's much easier to delegate stuff off when you can see the progress of things that are happening as well.
Yeah, we have the same Trello. We have a few various different boards for, like, the design has a completely different board, and then like our to-do list, things to do, and then we've got like documents and things on there. All the lead trackers are in there as well. So yeah, and I like the way it works, but it gets that point where, and I don't know if you do this, but it's sometimes not too much, but I have to, for me to see what's going on. So then I have Steph, who's our assistant, will go in and just like draw all my tasks, and she sends them through to me, and I'm like, cool, this makes me feel better now.
Yeah.
Trying to find it out. Yeah.
Yeah. My management team at the gym, because we have obviously loads of bills going out each month, and they're, Tom, you haven't paid this, Tom, you haven't paid that, because I've still got to manually pay the stuff. We use Pleo for, I don't know if you've got Pleo, which is it's like a cash card, and you can put money on it, and then you can assign a card to each team member, and they can go and buy stuff.
Yeah.
So we use that for a lot of the stock purchases. But sometimes when you've got to like do a batch transfer or something, you can't use Pleo, so I've still got to do that. And they'll say, oh, you haven't paid this person, you haven't paid that person. And it got to a point where I was like, do you know what? Every Tuesday, write me a list of all the people I've got to pay, and I'll pay them easy. And that's my Tuesday job. The thing gets posted, I go online, pay them all, takes me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to find all the things, because Xero's good, but you start like clicking stuff on it, you start going down that rabbit hole of looking at your cash flow and looking at all that sort of stuff. It's very dangerous. If you're going to have those apps there, and the people who manage those apps, they're the ones that do all the nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, with Xero, I used to go into it every day and look at all the difference and changes and stuff. Now I don't. I have one meeting every month with my accountant, and we go through all the progress and stuff. Again, that just saves me loads of time, because then I know what I've got to do for the month, what our targets are, what our progress has been. And again, it just saves me that half-hour call, saves me a couple of hours of trying to find the stuff myself.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of it. I don't speak to the accountant as often as that, but all those little things help. So like even our banking app is like, it's just so easy, and probably similar to Pleo actually, where we can assign like a virtual card, and then Steph can go and do all of the.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. So there's a couple of different providers. When I looked at them, Pleo was the one that worked best for us, but you can also do that with people who work. If you've got a team abroad, you can do that as well. They can have a virtual card which has all the numbers and stuff on it. You can put money on it, and they can go and spend it.
Yeah, it's good that. I was going to ask you, have you ever, because I know I have definitely, but have you ever got to that point where you have like fully burnt out from stuff because that balance has been affected so much? Yeah,
it's So when I had in July this year, I had a bit of a heart issue, and I had 4 sort of things come together, sort of a perfect storm, which landed me in hospital for a week. And touch wood, something wouldn't hit near me. They're managing it with I didn't have any surgery or anything, but they're managing it with drugs to help my heart. And I've had loads of checkups since, and I'm okay. But part of that was the stress side of things, was the fact that I was trying to do a lot. And so even though after lockdown and coming out of lockdown, all that sort of stuff, I delegated stuff off. When I was in hospital, I had my laptop with me, of course. And I was working. I was like, what am I doing? I'm sat in hospital with a cardiac monitor on, like looking at stuff to do with work. I should be resting, So that was sort of like a brainstorm thing for me. And I went through that process again because I hadn't done it for a while. I looked at every single task that I do and said, right, do I need to be doing this? Firstly, is it necessary for the business? Okay, I suppose that was probably the first thing. Is it necessary for the business? Do I need to be doing that? Is it something that someone else could do? And I just drew up a little, on a sheet of hospital paper, drew up a thing about like stuff that Tom does, stuff that Tom does not want to do ever, and stuff that we're not going to do anymore. And so the stuff and that was quite a long list because it was just stuff I'd been doing. And I was like, this isn't really necessary, like, for example, posting recipes. I get the recipe books every month from Phil, and they're a great resource. I use them in my coaching, build body coaching, but it's like an extra thing. It's not something that I use as lead magnets or anything else. And I was getting stressed by every month, like taking the recipes out and making a post and everything else. I'm like, why am I doing that? It's not necessary to my business. So I just have them as here's the recipe book, here's the link, knock yourself out every month in my group. And that actually saved me about an hour to 2 hours a month.
Yeah.
And it was just less stress. But I was at that point of proper burnout where I actually landed myself in hospital from being ill, from having other things wrong, and that the added stress didn't help with all that. And now my philosophy is, if anything comes towards me which is stressful, I'm either like, well, someone else is going to deal with that, or nothing is going to happen because I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah.
Unless it's something I really have to deal with.
That's it. We're not designed, are we? We're not really designed to just go full on like work mode. And then
no,
I mean, well, when you're self-employed or you work for yourself, you probably do that more so as well. You're more inclined to just hammer it. Or I know that's what I didn't go to hospital, but I definitely got to that point of burnout because I'd never experienced being like that before. And I like to think I can work, more than most people, and that's not a badge of honor. I just feel like I can do it because I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing and I can get so into it. But that can also be a bad thing because then I'm like, oh, I don't feel bad for going and just cracking on with work and things. But to the point where you just don't want to get out of bed, and that's not me. That was really weird. Like, had no interest in doing anything. I just was like, I'll just stay in bed. And my wife was like, are you okay? Because you're not getting out of bed. And I just said, I don't know what's wrong with me. It was really weird feeling that to be like that. And it lasted for 3 or 4 days. And then, kind of just needed that. It's like your body's gone, you need to stop. Like, if you don't stop, I'll make you stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and do you know what? I think I would say that every person watching this, because it's a podcast for online fitness businesses and fitness business owners, they're gonna relate to that in some way, to both stories about that, because we all enjoy what we're doing, and because it's a business we want to run, it's our business, we enjoy doing it, so we don't see it as work. Like I'll sit in front of the TV sometimes and like write an email, and Sam's like, do you not want to relax? I'm like, well, actually, I enjoy doing this. It's I can, you can like dual screen when you're watching some crap on TV. I can do that, but it's because I like writing emails. But yeah, it is work. It's and I'm not giving myself time to chill out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people watching this will be like, yeah, I can relate to that. Which is one thing that Sam's been very good for me for is she's like, right, we're going on holiday. I'm like, oh, are we? Yeah. And then we're off to Egypt or something. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's good that. I'm a big fan of like taking time off as well, but I definitely, and this comes up a lot, and it does tie into this subject. I know we said at the beginning it's such a big subject, but so taking time off and then actually still working, because that's definitely a question that comes up. What do you do when you go on holiday? Like, how do you manage? What do you do with your clients? How do you manage work? And I've gone through everything and tried or I've tried to work. That was, I thought I could just do it. And then I've tried to just do some work, to the point now where, as long as it's communicated ahead of time, you try not to do, I won't do anything in terms of like the work, and I'll make sure that clients know and they've got everything they need. And if they need to message me, they can. But because otherwise what you do is you put yourself in that position where you're doing that work, but you're not doing it to the best of your ability. You don't really want to be doing it. You should be on holiday. You should be relaxing. You should be, I don't know, at the all-inclusive buffet, like drinking all day. Yeah. But no, you got to do these client updates, no, because that's not happening.
And also the message that sends to your clients, because let's relate it back to, let's say weight loss, fat loss clients or whatever. The big thing, I'm going on holiday. How am I going to track my food? How am I going to do it? And I'm sure that you say to your clients, don't track on holiday. Just, this is a time to test your ability to make sensible decisions for your nutrition. So if you go and have an ice cream, but don't have 10 ice creams, have a couple of beers, don't have 20 beers, that sort of thing. And obviously we know that even if they have a week of really smashing it, when they come back, they go straight back onto the systems, that weight will drop off because it's not permanent weight. And what example are we setting to people, and especially our business clients, if we're saying, yeah, you can contact me on holiday anytime, 24/7. So you're not taking time off. So how can you advise your clients to take time off?
Yeah.
And case in point, when we went to Egypt, I said to all my clients, I said, look, I'm going away from this day to this day. If there's anything you need to chat about, please come on to the open office that I'm holding beforehand, or submit a question in the Facebook group, and I will record the answer if you're not there, and then you can see the video afterwards. But for that week, I'm not available on WhatsApp, or obviously don't phone me. And it's, and I'm sure you do this as well. You make sure their plans are sorted and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, I can't think of any emergency where someone will have to contact me about their diet when I'm on holiday.
There's no emergencies, is there? There shouldn't be any emergencies in what we do.
No. And it's even if you had a business client, it's like, well, you say to them, take time off, have a work-life balance, but here you are, sat on a beach in Bali with your laptop out. It's like, the only work, as in work I've done when I've been on holiday, is potentially writing Instagram posts, but they're all related to my holiday if I haven't scheduled them beforehand. And the thing I did on the most recent Egypt trip was I watched a load of videos related to some course I'd purchased. But I felt that was more like education rather than, does that mean like you would read a book,
Yeah, I definitely have read a few books related to work. But yeah, and I'm probably done way too much stuff on social media, but I quite enjoy that side of it sometimes. It's interesting. Yeah,
I mean, like I was saying before, social media is social, isn't it? So if you're writing posts that you're on holiday and you can relate that some way back to your business, well, so what?
Yeah. But no, there's nothing else really. I mean, there's probably stuff that we could go off on tangents on loads of things to do this. But I can't think of any other, I'm just trying to think of any tools or anything else that I use. I'll tell you what, the one thing I've recently discovered, which is, for me, is one of the best things I found this year, is OneTab for, I mean, you've seen that thing, like one.
That's not been good for you. I've seen the result.
Yeah, but it's great. And then what it's done to me now is I'm starting to compete with how many tabs I've had open. So I don't know if it is good, but it was good at the start. But now I'm like, oh, cool. I had 32 the other day. I wonder if I can beat
that. So one tab, just for the benefit of the people who don't know what it is, it's explain what it is, and I will debunk why it's good for you.
If you're like me and you have just hundreds of tabs open, you just download this Chrome extension. And it's a little blue diamond, and at the end of the day, you can click the diamonds, and it just pulls all of your tabs into a lovely list, but it clears them from your desktop, because that's what's the problem is. It's also slowing your computer down, but then it just puts them into a list that you can access at any point. And then what I'm doing is then going into lists. But the other good thing I found, if I do want to go to a website, I can just pull it out of the list and draw it back up. But pretty much every day I'm still opening up the same amount of tabs.
Yeah, as I'm reading it, as we're talking, I'm looking at my own tabs. I've got about 30 tabs open myself. I mean, and some of them are totally irrelevant, but because there's stuff like online shopping or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that one tab for me is not a time saver because all you've done is put all the tabs across the top into a list all the way on the side, and then you've got more space to put more tabs across the top.
Yeah. And that's only on one browser. Then I get the other browser up.
Wow, multi-browsering. That's not saving you time.
No, I thought it was. But... oh well.
I think we had one. There was another topic. I had the diary. The diary was the main one for me about work-life balance, as in setting that in motion. I think you talked about Pomodoro technique. I think we were going to talk about Pareto's principle as well, weren't we? And quickly, Pareto's principle is if you have a week to do a task, it will take you a week. If you have a day to do a task, it will take you a day. So rather than having this long time to do a certain task, it needs to be more condensed, and you'd find it quicker to do. That's the theory anyway. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, this has been around for a long time, isn't it? Like in terms of the fitness, it's probably been around before the fitness space, but I've looked at it and I've never. It's not something that's stuck for me because, and maybe I do it unconsciously without knowing anyway. But I'll always have like this book here, which has got it's actually called a productivity planner. But every day it will have the most important task of the day and then secondary tasks of importance and then any additional tasks. But you only do the additional tasks if you've completed the most important task and the secondary ones. And then that's it. And there's only one main important task of the day, and that should be the biggest thing. So as long as you get that one done, that should be it. And I guess that's probably what it's pulling out, that kind of principle around there. Yeah.
I've got I'll tell you what would be I know I've shown you this app before, and if people watching straight listening to this, might be worth having a look at. But there's an app called Notability, which I've been using for a little while, and other apps are available, of course, which probably do the same thing. And my to-do list now is in Notability because I have the same thing. So I have like to-do list title at the top. Then I have the most important things that need to get done today at the top. I have 3 things, and then underneath it I have like things to do, and then at the bottom it's things to follow up. And the good thing about Notability is that first of all you have to write the things out, so they're more in your mind. Whereas if you've got your book, so that's there is evidence, isn't it? Writing stuff out makes you remember it better. So I write it out, and then what you can do in Notability is circle it and then drag it up as it becomes more relevant or less relevant. And when you've so say if I've got a really important task that like I don't know, update a module or something. Once I've done that, or let's say reply to an email, so contact this person. So once I've contacted that person, I can then drag that all the way down into the follow-up list. Now I know you can do this on Trello, and I know you can do all this on Excel and stuff like that. But the crucial thing here is that you've written it out. And what I do is when I drag it down, I erase it and write it out again.
Yeah.
So that it's in my mind, the things that need to get done. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I definitely am much more of because I've tried apps and things, and I haven't tried that. I've heard of it though, but I definitely need to write stuff down. And I've got 2 books for that one, and then I've got another notebook that I need, so that if I have ideas, I can just open it up and write, because there's definitely a creative flow from writing and that connection.
I've got a written notebook as well. But what I was finding was in the to-do list, I'd cross things off, and then I have to write another to-do list, and then there'd still be things that need to get done, so I have to write that twice, and it's just got a nightmare. So now I've just got that long to-do list in Notability, and once I've done them, I can just erase them, and then it's just the stuff that's left, and I can drag it up and down.
Nice.
But I still have the written notebook for like ideas. I have it with me all the time. So if I've got that content idea, like with you with the reels, like making the draft, if I've got an idea, that'll be good for content, I just get the book out and write it in. And then at the end of the day, I can just go back through and go, if I've done it, I'll tick it off. or if it's something that needs to go in my task list, I then transfer it onto my task list on my iPad.
Nice, like that.
That honestly, that little hack has made me more productive in terms of I can see what needs to get done and then what's coming up a lot easier.
Yeah.
But I've used loads of to-do lists. Like I've used Todoist, I've used Toodle-Do, I've used Excel and Trello. And although they're all good in their own way, because I'm not writing it out physically, it doesn't sink into the head. Once you write it out, either on an iPad or on a pen and paper, it just links more into your brain.
Yeah, I definitely have found that. Like you're similar, I've probably tried loads of different things, but it's definitely because I have to physically do it. I do it every day. So at the end of the day, I do tomorrow's, but at the end of the day, I'll do tomorrow's, and then I'll do the same thing. And then at the end of the week, review the week, and then I plan the next week. And it's just been brilliant. I don't know whether that's just because it's the way my brain works. I like to know that I can close it off. But yeah, I tried a lot of different apps and things. It never was the same.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like when I used I think it was Toodle-Do, you can edit that so many times. But the thing is, you get tied up in editing the to-do list that you don't do anything.
Yeah.
And although it's got things like, so I used to have things on it where if I rock up at the gym, the phone would recognize them at the gym and it would pop up all the things I had to do. I said I had to do when I get to the gym. So that was brilliant. So I got into the gym, phone went, all right, I've got to fire this person. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. You know, it was great for that. But I was noticing that a lot of things weren't getting done because I hadn't written them out. So yeah, I mean, again, it's what works for you. But if you're writing your to-do list takes more time than doing the tasks, maybe you should be looking at a different way of doing things. Great. Oh, and the other thing about Notability is that you can share it. So if someone else has the Notability app, say if you've got a team, you can have a team to-do list. So again, everyone's writing stuff out, but that only really works if people have got stuff that you can read. They like their handwriting, you can read it.
Yeah, it's good. Nice.
Cool. Yeah. I said that there's loads of stuff we could talk about, but I think that's 40 minutes of solid stuff there. So maybe you should leave it at that for today.
Yeah, we could just go on forever on different things, but there's a lot of stuff in there already. Yeah.
Great. Okay, good. Well, as ever, Dan, thanks for joining me today. And I hope if you're watching, you've got some value. And if you're listening, you've also got some value. Please do write us a review on the podcast, wherever you're listening to the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe on mine, not on Dan's. And Dan can't have more followers than me. He started his YouTube later.
Yeah, so they should like and subscribe on mine.
No. I've got to get to 1,000 so I can monetize it. So if you have enjoyed the podcast, please do leave us a review, share it, etc. Helps get the word out to people, and hopefully share some good content with other people. Dan, your contact details?
Yeah, Dan Strong Collective at Dan Strong Collective or strongcollective.co.uk. And if you have enjoyed it, like share it on social media and tag me and Tom. Because that absolutely just, and let us know. Like a few people have been messaging me about it and telling me about some of the episodes. So I genuinely want to know. I want feedback. So let us know.
Yeah, and again, if you comment on YouTube, as in stuff you would like us to talk about, great, because we want to produce videos that speak to our audience. So please do, if there's a topic you want us to talk about. I think my build coaching should be actually activated. So buildcoaching.co.uk should be active by the time people watch this, fingers crossed. And my Instagram is Tom Build Coaching for exclusive builds, business stuff, and Tom Blackman _nutrition for all the other things. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Nice.